Good Morning Wilmington is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
Live proudly, boldly, and with peace of mind by advocating for your health with an early cancer screening. The LGBTQIA+ community is at higher risk of cancer, but screenings can detect cancer early when it's most treatable, giving you the power to live exactly as you are. Talk to your healthcare provider today. If you don't have insurance, talk to a nurse navigator to see if you qualify for free screenings.
What's going on? I'm your main man, Big Ive, the talk of the town, Mr. DETV, CH.com, Mr. Positivity. And today, I have another special guest in studio on the plaza. And look, it's that time of the year, Clifford Brown Jazz Festival here in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. And just like how we did it last year, we'll bring you people that are related to the legendary jazz mastermind. We have his nephew in the building, Mr. Leon Dancing Feet Von Brown. How are you? How are you?
I like that name, Dancing Feet.
How did you get the name Dancing Feet?
Well, I gave that to myself,
okay.
but it was actually because a friend of mine called me Dancing Feet based on a movie, some movie with those penguins, and they dance around to that R&B music, and
right.
I love that movie. It's
right.
a very nice movie. And he called me Dancing Feet, so I said, oh, that's a nice little catchy name.
Yeah.
So I use that for myself, so I use that for my name, Dancing Feet.
I love it.
And that's my little tag for my Facebook page.
Yeah, all right.
And
I might just call you Dancing Feet throughout the whole.
No,
I'm just.
I'm Leon Von Brown. I'm Leon Von Brown.
Leon Von Brown, and that, like we were talking off stage, and that off the show, and that is your real name.
Yes, because see, all the angels knew that when I came to this planet, I was going to be a performer.
Right.
And
right.
so they spoke into my father's ear and they said, make his name Leon Von Brown. It sounds like a performer's name. And that's what my father said. Oh, okay. So his middle name will be Von, mm-hmm. because I'm named after my father.
Okay.
My father's name is Leon.
Right. Right.
And so he put Von in the middle,
right.
So I could have that staged name. Leon Von
Brown. And it
yes.
sounds good.
Oh yes.
It sounds good.
Oh yeah.
And you lived up to the stage name Dancing Feet Von Brown.
Yes.
So you're the great nephew of the late Clifford Brown.
Yes.
What was it like growing up, and you're from Wilmington?
Yes. Oh yes.
What was it like, and native of P.S. DuPont? Alum from P.S.
Yes,
DuPont.
exactly.
What was it like growing up in Wilmington in that household? Because that household had a lot of talent.
Yeah, the household had a lot of talent. And every time we went to anybody's house in Wilmington who was from the family, we all had the same picture of my uncle. And I knew at an early age that I was a part of something great.
Okay, all right.
Because when I was younger, I didn't really appreciate jazz like I do now,
right.
of course, because when you're a child, you listen to what's on the radio. Mm-hmm. And when I was growing up, it wasn't a lot of jazz on the radio.
Right.
So
right.
I got a lot of my information about jazz and my appreciation for jazz directly from my father. My father was Clifford Brown's brother.
Okay.
And so we would have records at home that I would listen to.
Right.
So that was where I got my inspiration to start being aware of it.
Right.
Because I'm a young kid. I'm listening to stuff that's, the Temptations and the Supremes. I grew up in that era.
Right.
So,
and then jazz is like for some people were the secondary or third.
Oh yeah,
music.
it was all the way to back because during the '60s, jazz was like thought of as being so cerebral. It was just like for those people that was, yeah, man, like beatniks, like yeah. It was just too highbrow. But so it wasn't until as I got older, it became an acquired understanding and acquired taste and
Right.
acquired appreciation
Right.
for it. Yeah.
So when did you start dancing? Let me ask you that.
That's a good question. I started dancing when I was a really young child. I was about 5 years old because my mother was my first dance teacher.
Oh, get out.
Because I found out later on, see, my mother was in the education, the Delaware, she was a Delaware public educator.
Okay.
And so she had a scholarship with Catherine Dunham,
Okay.
to dance with Catherine Dunham. And then, but her parents said, oh no, you're not gonna be a dancer. Because imagine when my mother was coming along,
was a whole
that had to be
nother
back, that was, oh, there's
another
another.
world, yeah,
And
yeah.
so they said, you're gonna go to school and you're gonna get a real job and be a school teacher. So my mother emptied out from being a dancer herself to becoming a school teacher. But she gave me my first dance lessons because when she taught at Absalom Jones Elementary School, way
Belvedere.
back in it, Belvedere, yeah, there you go.
Right.
Belvedere. She did an after-school program, and at that after-school program, she taught dance to the children, and naturally, that was aftercare for her
Okay.
to have me in the class. So I learned tap from her.
And how old were you then?
So I was 5 years old.
Okay,
I was
okay.
5 years old. And so I was right there with my mother, and
Right.
she was teaching the other children, and I was in the productions, and I was doing the tap dance. So my first experience with dance was through my mother,
Right.
tap dancing.
Tap dancing. Wow.
Yeah.
And now I remember. Oh, tap was it. That was my thing. That was the
Yeah.
first thing I learned was how to tap dance. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
So you're tap dancing, and then what did you do after high school?
Well, what happened was after that, then I started acquiring a feeling for dance myself.
Right.
So what I did was I would choreograph dances to music right in my living room, and I would dance around in my living room, and we had a mirror on the wall in the living room, just a very small decorative mirror, but I could see myself enough to start doing dances, and so I would put records on the stereo at the time,
Okay.
and choreograph dances. And the first dance I choreographed was to James Bond's Thunderbolt, and I remember doing that and seeing myself and dancing around. And I do have to say that dancing came as a result of several other things that I was doing before that,
Okay.
which was gymnastics and karate. And those things led to the dance.
Okay. Okay.
And then I went on to go to high school because I graduated from PS DuPont High School.
Right.
And my first year there at PS DuPont, I saw one of their productions, one of their musical productions, and I'm sitting in the audience watching, and I saw a friend of mine on the stage, and I thought to myself, how did he get up there on that stage? And I said, next year, I'm going to be on that stage.
Okay.
And sure enough, I was.
Okay.
I found out about auditions and that whole thing. So that's how I got introduced to the whole thing of the performing arts.
Right. Right.
And after that, it was a wrap.
Right.
Because every year after that, I was on every production at PS DuPont's musical productions that they gave.
So let me ask you, what is it? Describe the love for me of dance, of being a choreographer, because I like to know the why, right?
Yes.
And when we could sit here and you could talk to me about cameras, and I'll turn on.
Yes.
It's the opposite. It's choreography. It's dance.
Yes.
What is it that made you fall in love with it?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, I'm very physical. With the karate and with the gymnastics, and I also ran track too.
Okay.
So all those things were very athletic. So I relate to my body very much.
Right.
And then when I found out that I could use my body to tell stories, because see,
there
that's
you
the
go.
thing
That's it.
about choreography.
Okay.
Choreography and dance is where you tell stories with your body.
Right.
And that's what I do. And I've seen other places and other performances of other people on TV, and I've been a part of other productions throughout my early life, and I found that I got joy out of that.
Right.
And so I realized that I could sing, that I could act, and I could dance, you know. they call that a
Triple threat, right?
And
a lot of people don't have triple threats no
okay,
more.
right.
But
I'm still triple threat. But here's the thing: when I realized that, I noticed that my thought was this. I said, I could always fake singing to a certain extent. I could always fake acting, but I said, I want people to know that I'm a dancer just by the way I lift my arm.
Right. Okay.
Just the way I move my arm.
Okay.
And that was the impetus for me to start studying dance out of the three. I mean, I took a real major thought about, let me pursue this thing because it's different than all the other three.
Yeah, yeah. You can dance, you can do anything, but honing in on your craft and understanding the science of it,
Yes.
it is different.
It is very different. And I'm also remembering that as a child, I used to dance and get paid for it when they used to have this thing here in Wilmington called the Old Timers basketball.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about.
I would dance in between their during their breaks, and I would dance around in different places at social events, and people would give me money for dancing. And I had a little dance partner, the two of us. She was a cute little girl, and I was a cute little boy. I'm not so cute now, but she was a cute little girl. I was a cute little boy, and people would give us money for it, and it was like, oh, it was so much fun. So,
right.
So that was another thing that inspired me to start dancing and pursuing dance, because I did it as a child.
It sounds like progression. It sounds like a time of progression.
Yeah.
And okay, dancing feet. You graduated from high school. Tell me about some of the projects and some of the people you work with, and even going overseas. What was that like?
Yes. Well, the first time I went overseas, I went as a singer. Okay, because I said I'm a triple threat, so I went as a singer, and I toured Europe for 6 weeks.
Now, how old were you?
And I was 17 at the time.
How was that for a black man, a choreographer, in another country?
Very interesting, because I was with the Susquehanna. It was a Susquehanna. It was called Susquehanna Music Camp, and it was a lot of students from all over the country, and it was in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. And out of all those students, it probably was about 150 of us. There was only 3 black females, and I was the only black male out of all of those students. And when we performed, when we went to Italy, after the performance, it was out in the street. After the performance, one native Italian came up to the black ones, the 4 of us that I just described, and in his broken English, he said, you black. We said, yeah. And he said, here. And he gave us medals for being black.
Medals?
Yes, because he wanted to show his appreciation for who we were. Okay. And that was very interesting. And this was back in the 70s, and we had those big afros and all of that. And it was
at that time, there was a lot of blacks going over to Europe.
But in this particular setting, and this man, whoever he was, I don't even, he was just a man off the street.
Right.
He gave us medals for being black, and I kept that medal for a very long time.
Wow.
That was quite an inspiration also.
Wow.
So that was the first time I went to Europe, and then subsequent times I went back to Europe as a dance teacher and choreographer, because by then I had already started pursuing dance more specifically, and I had more training myself, and then I started being a part of other dance organizations that would take Americans over to Europe and we would perform and dance.
Wow.
So and I'm glad I got a chance to do that, because there's a word in the Bible that says your gifts will make room for you.
Yeah.
And my dancing has made room for me and allowed me to travel.
Nice.
And I appreciate that so much.
Nice.
It's allowed me to travel and be seen from to a lot of people. So that's been really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
The musical Pearly.
Oh, the musical Pearly was fabulous. I was at Clark College. Now, I started out at Lincoln University.
Okay, okay.
And I was there for 2 years, and then at the end of the second year, the funding changed, and so I didn't have any more money to continue, but I got a Methodist scholarship from the United Methodist, and Clark being a Methodist school,
Right.
I was able to get a scholarship.
Right.
And so I went to Clark College. I get to Clark, and I went there because of my mother, because she said, well, I understand Atlanta's a nice place to go to. So I went there, and I didn't know anybody, because this was out of my element.
Right.
So I gravitated once again to the theater, and there was a musical that they were doing called Pearly, which so happened to co-star Samuel L. Jackson and LaTanya Richardson.
Okay.
And I auditioned, and I got the role as Gitlow.
Right.
So I was Gitlow. Samuel L. Jackson, at the time, he was just going by Samuel Jackson.
Right.
But anyhow, he was Pearly, I was Gitlow, and LaTanya was my wife, I forget, Missy.
Right.
And we sang, acted, and danced in that show, and it was a hit. It was a great success. So it moved from the college campus,
Right.
and from there it went on to the Alliance Theater downtown Atlanta.
Nice.
So then at that point, I was doing that show in Atlanta, and people started recognizing me on the street.
Right.
In
And what was that like?
It just made my head go whoop, whoop,
Right,
whoop,
right.
whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm somebody, yeah.
Right.
Stuck my chest out and all that kind of stuff. So it was a nice experience.
Right.
And so I have just been just going from that point on. Other things started happening. This started happening. That started, and I got bitten by that bug.
Yeah, and it got you.
And the rest is history,
As they say. Now,
Yeah.
now your life plane has brought you back to Wilmington.
Yes,
to
it
teach
has.
a master class.
Yes, it has.
Are you ready for it?
Yes, I am.
What can people expect about your master class? And it's to Tuesday before the Friday of when the Jazz Festival.
Well, actually, at the time of this taping right now, it has already taken place.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, yeah. And the master class was wonderful. I do have to say, I was very impressed with the dancers that showed up for it.
Okay.
And I was also glad to know and say that it was also intergenerational.
Was it?
Because I had people that were my age, I had people that were younger than me,
Right.
and had people that were older than
What
me,
did that do?
if you can
What did that do
imagine
to
that.
you? As in performing back at home.
It was a good thing for me, because I was coming back almost like as a native son returning to give back to where it all started.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me to be welcomed the way I was
Yeah. Oh,
by the
nice.
people that came. And it was just so nice.
Yeah. Clifford Brown means a lot. The whole family means a lot here.
It does.
And just to clarify, yesterday was the master class. I mean, yesterday was the master class?
Well, it was on Tuesday. It was on
Tuesday was the master class, and next
Tuesday.
Tuesday is the performance.
Oh yeah, so those are two Tuesdays.
Two Tuesdays.
Tuesdays.
Look what we got
yeah,
here. Two
yeah,
Tuesdays.
yeah.
And your performance. Are you looking forward to your performance?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be doing a performance because.
He said, yes, I am.
Yes, I am. And backtracking a little bit, I do have to say this, that when I was growing up, my father always used to tell me, he always used to say, you should tell people that you're Clifford Brown's nephew. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that,
Right.
because I want to have my own
Right.
and step into things on my own.
Right.
And I understood where he was coming from.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you could get your foot into the door if you're known or if you're famous.
Right. Right.
or know somebody famous, but then you have to have something yourself. You have to have your own credentials.
Your own
You have
brand.
you have to own person.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So as many times he kept on saying, yeah, you need to tell people you're Clifford Brown's nephew, I just said, well, to myself, and one time to him, because you don't say too much to my father.
Right.
I said, no, I'm going to do and make my own name.
Yeah.
And so now, when I can say that I'm his nephew, and I've been inspired by his background and his artistry.
Yeah.
And so back in 2005, I choreographed to his music, and I choreographed the dance to his Yesterdays.
Get out of here.
And it was a very interesting piece and an interesting thought that I had about that piece, because the premise of the piece is that we see this woman that is going through a trunk. She finds a trunk full of old clothes of hers. And as she's going through this trunk of old clothes, she comes across her old dance costume. And we realize that she was a former dancer. And then so she looks at it, and then she takes it over to the mirror to look at herself in the mirror. And as she's looking at herself in the mirror, her image comes up, which is another dancer. And there's this whole rapport that takes place between she and the image in the mirror. And then at some point, the image in the mirror comes through the mirror, and the two of them dance together. And then it's this whole thing between the two of them. And then at one point, the original woman is just so caught up into everything that she turns and looks, and the image goes back into the mirror, and then she runs to the mirror to see what happened.
Right.
But the costume is there, and she looks down, finds the costume, picks it up, and she looks at the costume, looks at the mirror, then thinks back and says, oh wow, that was just wonderful. I don't know what happened, but that was wonderful. And it's to the tune of Yesterdays.
Wow. That's a short film. That's
Yes.
a beautiful short
Yes.
film. I'm
Yes.
playing it all in my head. All right.
Yes.
Act one, scene one. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
beautiful short film.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what is it like? And I want you to explain this to other people, because the reason for this platform is that we use each other to influence and inspire others. Right?
Yes.
What was it like for you going from student to the teacher? You know, from student to sensei, from dance student to choreographer. You know, when did you realize it's time to teach? It's time to be more.
Yes. Well, I do have to say this. When I studied in New York, I studied dance in New York, because I would tell anybody, no matter what you're into, you need to go to New York to do it, because they have the best of everything, no matter what it is.
Wow.
Okay. I went to New York and to study dance, and I actually studied under Marjorie Percy's, who was the teacher to Alvin Ailey.
Wow.
And I was impressed with the fact that not every dancer that's a very good dancer translates into being a very good dance teacher. But I noticed that Marjorie Percy's was a very good teacher. So what I did was, I went to Marjorie one time after a class, and I said, Marjorie, I want to learn to be a teacher like you. Is it okay that I come to your class and I just take notes and just watch you?
Wow.
And so she mentored me.
Right.
And I sat there,
Yeah.
taking notes.
Yeah. That's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I identified somebody who I respected as a teacher, because I knew that with this gift, it's something to share, but everybody doesn't know how to share their gift. And she was an excellent teacher. Yeah. And so I since have been teaching, and it's been I've been a very successful dance teacher as a result of that.
How would you explain your dance, your choreography style?
Well, my choreography style, I have studied in my career, I have studied African dance, which is what I always suggest most people start with, because it's easier, because it's more athletic, especially men.
Right.
Okay. African dance was the first thing, and then I did gymnastics, like I said. But I studied African, then I studied modern, and then I took ballet, We all hate ballet because it's so restrictive, but ballet gives you the technique so that you can be able to dance when you're 25, you'll be able to dance when you're 35, so that you'll be able to dance when you're 45, so that you'll be able to dance when you're 55, so you'll be able to dance when you're 65,
Right.
so you'll be able to dance when you're 75, so you'll be able to dance when you're 85, because it gives you the technique so that you have longevity
Nice.
with your with your craft.
Right.
And then I studied African jazz, ballet, modern, and so all of those elements are in what I do with my jazz.
Right.
So when I give a correction in my dance class, one little correction like this, it's backed up with all of that.
Understood.
All of that.
Understood.
So, and that's what I say is different about me than a lot of these dancers that call themselves teachers these days, because I've observed some young dancers that call themselves teachers, and they're really just regurgitating
What they saw.
something that they saw or some choreography that they learned.
Yeah.
But when I teach you, I'm going to give you some background just in the way I teach because of what I say and what I see. So, and I can tell you how to achieve something, and I can give you alternatives
Right.
so that you don't hurt yourself. Because here's the other thing, dance is a sport.
Right.
And I recognized that early in my career.
Right.
And so we are, as dancers, we're athletes, and so we need to preserve our bodies and take
Right.
care of our bodies. And I'm fortunate that I didn't have any major injuries, although I did have certain things that have happened, but because of my background, because of my training, because of all those different disciplines I've studied, I've been able to maintain my body and still be able to dance at the very wonderful age that I am right now.
What's that, 45?
How did you guess?
I got it.
How did you guess? 45. But yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's been a complete honor to have you here to learn more about you. That's what I love about what I do. I get to meet some amazing people.
And I'm one of those
And you're one of those
amazing
people. You're
Exactly.
dancing feet. What's next for you?
Well, the next thing is I'm looking forward to the piece that I'm going to be presenting to the Wilmington audience. And I want everybody to come out and see this piece because I just described it and they already know the story of it.
Yeah.
So now they can see it themselves.
Right.
And that's the next thing for me.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to the other part of it. It's going to be after the dance, we're going to have a Q&A session.
Oh, nice.
So people can talk to me just like you're talking to me and asking me questions.
Yeah.
People will get an opportunity to talk to me and ask me questions and also talk to the dancers that I'll be working with.
Love it.
Because the dancers, it's going to be a very brand new experience for them because I just chose them a couple of days ago at the master class. So this is all going to be wild for them. It's going to be, oh my God, I'm dancing with Leon Von Brown.
That means something. Like
Yes.
it means something. And like my mentor tells me, is like you can have that in your jacket.
Yes.
You know, you can have it and you can just learn. And I know they're going to be more than happy to get to say, I danced with him. I learned from him. And I listened to him.
Yes.
Real quick before we get out of here.
Yes.
If you can give a message to another young black man, a young black boy growing up, right? And he's inspiring to be a dancer, and people are saying no, stop, you can't. What advice would you give him? What would you tell him?
Well, first of all, these days it's easier for him because he has more examples. Because you have Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance that people see. But I would say that to somebody who doesn't have those examples at all. Bottom line is to pursue your heart, pursue your dream, and don't listen to what other people tell you. Because as a male dancer, and especially as a black male dancer, you have all kind of voices and all kind of people saying, oh, you can't do that, don't do that, it's not this, you're that, and call you all kinds of names that are not very pleasant names. And I went through all of that. But the bottom line is, we now know of a very famous man named Alvin Ailey who influenced me, who became world famous.
Right.
And he touched so many people's lives. So you never know whose life you're going to touch. So little black boy, you have something that can touch somebody's life. So I want you to understand that and know. And you go out because you have something special that only you can bring to the world. And your vehicle is dance. So you use your vehicle, you use that dance. I would also suggest that you do other things, you know, be athletic, you know, run track, do gymnastics, do some other things, appreciate art, and then you pull all those things together, and that will make you a very good choreographer and dancer. Because the other thing is, a choreographer has a voice, and he uses his voice through dance. So you need to be very comfortable with giving messages. And your background comes from all of those other venues. And that's why my jazz dance style, I call it fusion, because I use every element. It's not just restricted to jazz genre, but it's everything.
It's everything.
All together.
Fused together.
Yes.
Dancing Feet?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Again, Tuesday, 7 p.m., Delaware Theater Company. Make sure you be there for the #1 performance of the year, and that is Leon Dancing Feet
Von Brown.
You're watching DETV. Thank you so much. Jazz Festival coming up. Be there. We'll be on the side doing interviews. You don't want to miss it. Another outstanding events that's happening in your city. We'll keep you posted.